Okay, I can take a moment here to answer a question real quick. A fella asked me why I put the trigger on some of my trees the way I do. You know, some of them are off. Most people think the trigger needs to be... Okay, so my face is there. Most people think the trigger needs to be like right here, or sometimes I'll leave more off to the side, but there's a reason for that. The trigger of the tree is your tension wood, your tension fibers, and that's a whole nother conversation in itself. But if you look at this tree, it goes up, it mimics this one. This one's real bad. It goes out that way. This one goes up and out that way. And I got that nice cherry down there I'm trying not to smash up, because it wants to fall back this way. So I'm going to clean all this up, cut that stuff out over there, drop that. But what I'm doing is I'm trying to take this tree off center just a little bit. It wants to go right in that hole, but I don't want to put it there. I want to put it over here where the face is open. So I've got my notch cut, aiming it about right for that crummy white oak. And I'll bring bringing this cut around, and I'm going to put my trigger directly behind the tension wood, directly behind the lean of the tree, which is, you know, the notch is over here, but I'm going to leave my tension back here, so it's off. It's not straight behind the hinge itself, because that's the way the tree's leaning. You start putting your trigger back there, it could still blow, you know, break off, and it'll just pull it up. All your strength in your trigger is going to be back here, because that tree's leaning straight away from us. So I'll leave my trigger, and I don't like to leave them in a big root spur, because they're easier to pull up, slab up, because the fibers start to, in the tree, the fibers are, see, they're starting to lay this way instead of straight up and down. They're starting to lay more horizontal instead of perpendicular. So I'll leave the trigger back here in this little gully of the root flare. And since this tree has a little bit of lean that way, I want to cut this side, being the bad side of the tree, first. So if it is to break off, that's the way it's going to go, out that way. So I want to be over here. So I'll come around and meet this in the back on these bigger trees. That's how I like to do it. Excuse me. And hopefully, I kind of figure it's going to break off. There's not much I can do about it. You can see it's leaning pretty good. A lot of head weight, like out over that side, so I'm swinging it across that. But I have it aimed, once it gets going, just enough. I only need a little bit, and I should be okay. And as for how the saw oriented, Alex asked, not Escate, Alex, oh, I'll remember your name, hopefully you're still watching. Why I was he sees a lot of us doing, they call it back cut, like I would be taking the saw and cutting that way. Really, there's not much of a reason for that. Sometimes you'll do that when you got a tree that you're trying to swing or something, because it leaves a lot of sawdust in the kerf, and it'll help, you know, keep that tree from closing up completely, the kerf. But for the most part, it's just here in the east, we're cutting close to the dirt. So I have, you know, how I cut or finish the tree off directly, it just depends on which way the tree's leaning. You know, sometimes I cut around this way. In this case, I'll be back cutting around this way. It's because it gets the power head closer to the ground and cut closer to the ground. Really has no bearing on how I cut. So, but I hope that answers some questions. If it didn't, shoot me a message and we'll make another video. Not a big deal. Hope everyone has a good day. Take care.